Time to catch up with One Nation leader, Senator Pauline Hanson. Pauline, good morning.
Good morning, Stephen.
Back in town, the madhouse is back. Nothing really gets done today. It all starts tomorrow, doesn't it?
No, there should be a few pieces of legislation I'm expecting up this afternoon.
Okay.
So it usually does that. They just do the swearing in. I think it starts about 10:30 this morning, swearing in, and basically usually goes right back to business. So
the Prime Minister says this is going to be a year of delivery. It's his fourth year. Shouldn't he have been delivering for the last three?
Well, he's been pushing through legislation in the chamber. He guillotined 220 bills last time. We couldn't debate it, and nothing happened. There's only a few weeks left of Parliament this year. I think after this 2-week break, we're 2 weeks now, we've got about a 4-week break. Then we're back 2 weeks in September, I think October, and we finish the end of November. So the same thing would happen first time around with this government. There was nothing much happening. And then they cut back the weeks from 18 to 14 in his term of government last year, and then rush everything through, guillotine it through. He's the most unaccountable government that we've ever had. Can't debate. David Pocock assisted this. He guillotined that many bills in the Parliament. Then when it came to a bill he wanted, to debate, I thought he was a hypocrite.
One of the first pieces of legislation that the government's going to try and push through this week is this 20% reduction in HEX bills. So basically, if you're somebody that didn't go to university, you're now going to subsidise somebody who's going to end up with a job probably earning more money than you are.
I'm furious about it, Stephen. It's so unfair. Okay. The government has virtually given them a loan to go to university for something that they choose to do. They're not forced to go. They choose to go to university.
And they're not forced to take out a loan either.
Correct. Yeah. And then if you got that loan from the bank, if you went around to the bank and said, listen, can I get a 20% reduction off my loan? What would the bank tell you? Why is the taxpayer being treated this way? It was only purely to buy votes during the election and get the young ones on board because everyone wants handouts. And it's going to run the country into so much debt. I think it's wrong. And not even on top of that, you got $80 billion in HEX debt that's still owing to the government. What about all the people in the past? Is he going to wipe 20% off their debt? I think it's wrong. Taxpayers, we can't afford this.
They're welcome to give me 20% of mine back that I've already paid. Now, another piece of legislation that concerns me, not necessarily because of the essence of it, which I don't agree with, but because it points to a broader problem. And this is the roping YouTube into this social media ban for under 16s. And the problem here is I think most of your colleagues have the best intentions here. They actually do want to protect kids. But I've spoken to a number of them, and with a few exceptions, they don't actually understand what the problem is here and won't talk to experts who can actually explain to them how to fix it properly without this ridiculous legislation.
That doesn't surprise me, Stephen. I see it all the time in the floor of Parliament. They just follow whichever way the leaders of their party is leading them, and a lot of them don't even know what the legislation entails and what they're actually voting on. So that doesn't surprise me. You take away a person's rights, and especially with YouTube, and I've spoken to teachers and other people, professionals, that believe it's very, very beneficial for children to have access to YouTube and for educational purposes. Now, we cannot allow the government to control what people see or do. If governments can't get their act together and start controlling children what they watch, and I'd like to see governments get harder on what's on these programs, especially with pornography. That's causing more stress and problems, and just gender dysphoria that children go in. And look at all this wokeness and this rubbish. That concerns me.
Well, and I've spoken about this ad nauseum on this program, and I've spoken to the foremost expert at protecting children online is based here in Australia, and the government won't listen to him, who says all you've got to do is change ACCC regulations to let parents decide what their kids can and can't see at a device level. But you talk to some of your colleagues and their eyes just glaze over.
I totally agree with you. And so anyway, all we can do is keep pushing the point, and it really comes down to the public, Stephen. People need to start to wake up. People need to actually have their say. Ring up radio stations like yours, have your comments, write to members of Parliament, give them a phone call and tell them, the fear to politicians is that if you're not listening to us, we won't vote for you next time around. People have the power if they'd only wake up and use it.
Yeah, absolutely. Now, I touched on this with Gary Hardgrave a few moments ago. That the coalition members, they're almost, it seems like they're proud of the fact that they got smashed at the election and they've fallen apart. But at least Susan Lee says they are going to fight the government on tax increases. I mean, a glimmer of hope, perhaps?
I believe it when I see it, to tell you the truth. I remember last time around when they lost the last election, 22, they were just sitting there licking the worms. They did nothing. There was no pushback. They were pathetic. They really were. I think Malcolm and I had more pushback in that chamber than from anyone else on the coalition side. Look, I hope so, but I don't have trust or faith in Susan Lee. If that's all she's going to do is worry about the government putting up their taxes, show me some strength. I haven't seen anything since the election. It's all been about the party itself. People didn't want to see the turmoil that was happening. Was it a setup? Did it really happen? Was it about look at us? So I just have no faith in them whatsoever. I do believe that leadership is very poor on both sides of politics. There's no real leaders in either political party that will take this country forward. How
are your new senators settling in? This is their first week in Parliament. How are they going?
Look, I think they're raring to go with their experience and knowledge and background, especially Warwick Stacey from New South Wales. He's got experience in defence, SAS commando, hostage negotiator, so defence. And that's what we need, is someone on the floor of Parliament in the Senate that really has that defence experience background. Also, the other gentleman, Tyron Whitten from WA, he's actually run a company business with his brother and they employed 1,000 people. So that was in the mining concrete sector. So when you employ people, he's very keen on industrial relations, climate change, all those issues. So they're raring to go. Fantastic, honest, straightforward men. What you see is what you get, a bit like me.
Good on you, Pauline. We'll catch up again next week.
Thanks. Bye, Stephen.
Pauline Hanson, One Nation leader, back in Canberra this week for the first sitting week of Parliament. As she says, not a lot of sitting weeks to go before the end of the year, so expect a whole bunch of legislation to be crammed through without any real scrutiny, unfortunately.